Harmonize with. To be in agreement or blend well with something. Synonym for. Harmonize with. Accord with, blend with, mesh with, sync with, coordinate with, fit with. The new experimental data harmonizes with the existing theoretical framework. The observed phenomena harmonize with predictions made by the mathematical model. The color scheme of the room harmonizes with the overall design. Unify under. To come together and form a single entity or organization. Synonym for. Unify under. Consolidate under, rally under, gather under, merge under, join under, combine under. The political parties decided to unify under a common banner for the upcoming elections. Researchers from different disciplines have come together to unify under a single research initiative. The scientific community aims to unify under a common goal of understanding climate change. Breakdown. To analyze or dissect a complex scientific concept into its constituent parts. Synonym for. Breakdown. Analyze, dissect, deconstruct, decompose, untangle, simplify. Scientists often break down complex molecules to study their individual components. Scientists break down the process of photosynthesis into its individual steps. The research team plans to break down the problem into smaller, more manageable parts. Look into. To investigate or examine a scientific phenomenon or problem. Synonym for. Look into. Investigate, examine, probe, explore, research, study. The laboratory will look into the potential applications of the newly discovered material. Researchers are looking into the effects of climate change on ocean currents. Researchers will look into the effects of climate change on biodiversity in the region. Figure out. To understand or solve a scientific problem or puzzle. Synonym for. Figure out. Solve, determine, decipher, resolve, crack, grasp. Scientists are trying to figure out how to harness nuclear fusion for energy production. Scientists are trying to figure out how certain species of plants survive in extreme environments. It took years of research to figure out the mechanism behind the observed phenomenon. Rule out. To eliminate or exclude a hypothesis or possibility from consideration. Synonym for. Rule out. Exclude, dismiss, eliminate, disregard, reject, discard. Researchers have ruled out the possibility that the anomaly was caused by experimental error. After careful analysis, researchers decided to rule out contamination as the cause of the unexpected results. The experiment's design helps rule out alternative explanations for the observed behavior. Bring about. To cause or create a scientific phenomenon or change. Synonym for. Bring about. Cause, generate, produce, affect, prompt, lead to. The new research findings could bring about a paradigm shift in our understanding of the universe. Changes in atmospheric conditions can bring about shifts in weather patterns. Advances in technology have brought about significant changes in the field of medicine. zero in on. To focus or concentrate attention on a specific aspect or detail of a scientific phenomenon. Synonym for zero in on. Focus on, concentrate on, target, zoom in on, home in on, center on. Scientists aim to zero in on the specific genes responsible for a particular trait. Astronomers are zeroing in on the source of mysterious cosmic rays. The research team will zero in on the critical time period when the phenomenon occurs. Scale up. To increase the size, scope, or intensity of a scientific experiment or observation. Synonym for scale up. Expand, increase, ramp up, grow, enlarge, augment. The study will scale up to include a larger sample size for more accurate results. Researchers plan to scale up the production of the vaccine to meet the increasing demand. The researchers plan to scale up their study to include a larger sample size. Sort out. To organize or categorize data or information related to a scientific phenomenon. Synonym for sort out. Organize, arrange, classify, categorize, systematize, catalog. The researchers will need to sort out the conflicting evidence before drawing conclusions. The scientists spent years sorting out the taxonomy of a newly discovered species. It took weeks to sort out the data collected from the experiment. Make out. To perceive or discern the details of a scientific observation or measurement. Synonym for make out. Discern, perceive, recognize, identify, distinguish, detect. With improved technology, scientists can now make out finer details of distant celestial objects. It's challenging to make out subtle differences in the data without proper analysis. With improved technology, astronomers can make out faint galaxies billions of light years away. Breakthrough. To make a significant discovery or advance in understanding a scientific phenomenon. Synonym for breakthrough. Make a discovery, advance, progress, achieve a breakthrough, innovate, surpass. The discovery of penicillin was a significant breakthrough in the field of medicine. The development of CRISPR technology represents a breakthrough in genetic engineering. The research team hopes to achieve a breakthrough in renewable energy technology. Rule in. To consider or include a hypothesis or possibility as valid or likely. Synonym for rule in. Consider, include, accept, admit, allow, incorporate. After further analysis, scientists ruled in the hypothesis that volcanic activity caused the extinction event. Further experiments may rule in the proposed hypothesis as a viable explanation. The new evidence seems to rule in the possibility of a previously overlooked factor. Look up. To research or seek information about a scientific topic or phenomenon. Synonym for look up. Research, search, investigate, explore, consult, refer to. Scientists often look up recent publications to stay updated on advancements in their field. The researchers will look up historical data to compare with their current findings. Students often look up information about the periodic table for their chemistry homework. Point out. To highlight or draw attention to a specific aspect or detail of a scientific phenomenon. Synonym for. Point out. Highlight, identify, specify, indicate, draw attention to, bring to light. The review article points out the need for further investigation into the effects of climate change on biodiversity. Researchers often point out the limitations of their studies in their conclusions. The researchers pointed out the correlation between temperature rise and species extinction. Zero out. To reduce or eliminate a scientific measurement or value to zero. Synonym for. Zero out. Reduce to zero, eliminate, nullify, annul, cancel, obliterate. The experimental error was small enough to effectively zero out any deviations from the expected results. Engineers aim to zero out the vibration of sensitive scientific instruments. By adjusting the controls, scientists were able to zero out the background noise in the data. Bring up. To raise or introduce a topic or idea related to a scientific phenomenon. Synonym for. Bring up. Raise, introduce, mention, broach, propose, put forward. During the meeting, the scientists brought up the possibility of using a new methodology for data analysis. The research team decided to bring up the issue of funding constraints during the discussion. During the seminar, the speaker brought up the concept of quantum entanglement. Tune into. To become attuned or responsive to a particular aspect of a scientific phenomenon. Synonym for. Tune into. Focus on, pay attention to, be attuned to, align with, sync with, harmonize with. Biologists tune into changes in migration patterns to track environmental shifts. As the study progressed, researchers began to tune in to the subtle changes in environmental conditions. By analyzing the data trends, scientists were able to tune in to the patterns of genetic variation. Look back on. To reflect on past scientific discoveries or events. Synonym for. Look back on. Reflect on, recall, remember, review, revisit, retrospect on. Scientists often look back on the history of their field to gain insights into current research challenges. Scientists look back on the groundbreaking experiments of the past century with admiration. The conference provided an opportunity to look back on landmark discoveries in the field of physics. Turn out. To result or develop in a particular way, often used to describe scientific experiments. Synonym for. Turn out. Evolve, develop, proceed, progress, transpire, unfold. Despite initial doubts, the experiment turned out to confirm the hypothesis. The experiment turned out to be inconclusive due to equipment malfunction. The results of the study turned out to be consistent with previous findings in the literature. Rule over. To have control or influence over a particular scientific domain or phenomenon. Synonym for. Rule over. Govern, dominate, control, command, reign, supervise. Quantum mechanics rules over the behavior of particles at the subatomic level. This research institution rules over the domain of marine biology due to its extensive resources and expertise. The renowned professor rules over the field of quantum mechanics with numerous groundbreaking contributions. Phase in/out. To introduce gradually or discontinue gradually a scientific practice, technology, or phenomenon. Synonym for phase in/out. Introduce gradually, implement gradually, integrate, transition in/out, bring in/out, incorporate. The new technology will be phased in gradually to minimize disruptions to current operations. The government plans to phase out the use of fossil fuels and phase in renewable energy sources. The government plans to phase out the use of fossil fuels in favor of renewable energy sources. Breakdown. To analyze and separate a complex substance into its constituent parts. Synonym for breakdown. Analyze, disassemble, decompose, deconstruct, dissolve, separate. To understand the chemical composition, scientists need to break down the substance into its elemental components. Scientists break down compounds to study their chemical composition. The research team will break down the complex phenomenon into manageable parts for analysis. Measure up. To determine the dimensions, size, or quantity of something. Synonym for measure up. Meet standards, fulfill requirements, match expectations, satisfy criteria, qualify, comply. The newly constructed telescope measures up to the highest standards of precision and accuracy. Researchers need to measure up the exact dosage for accurate results. It is essential to ensure that the data measures up to the established criteria before drawing conclusions. Zero in on. To focus closely on a specific detail or aspect in a scientific investigation. Synonym for zero in on. Focus on, concentrate on, target, zoom in on, home in on, center on. The scientists zeroed in on the precise location of the anomaly. By analyzing the spectroscopic data, scientists hope to zero in on the source of the anomaly. Researchers aim to zero in on the specific gene responsible for the observed trait. Rule out. To eliminate or exclude a possibility or hypothesis from consideration. Synonym for rule out. Exclude, eliminate, dismiss, reject, disregard, discard. After extensive testing, they were able to rule out certain factors. After careful examination, scientists were able to rule out contamination as a factor influencing the results. The experimental design helps to rule out alternative explanations for the observed behavior. Set up. To arrange or prepare the necessary equipment for an experiment or study. Synonym for set up. Arrange, prepare, establish, organize, install, configure. The laboratory technician will set up the equipment for the experiment according to the protocol. Before starting the experiment, they set up the laboratory apparatus. It took several hours to set up the specialized instrumentation for the study. Gather data. To collect information or evidence through observations and measurements. Synonym for. Gather data. Collect information, acquire data, amass data, compile data, collate data, aggregate data. Researchers gather data to support their hypotheses. The sensor array is designed to continuously gather data on environmental parameters. Field researchers will gather data on biodiversity by conducting surveys in various ecosystems. Scale up. To increase the size or magnitude of a process or experiment. Synonym for. Scale up. Increase, expand, enlarge, augment, amplify, boost. Scientists may need to scale up production for mass testing. The company plans to scale up production to meet the growing demand for the new product. Researchers aim to scale up the experimental model to simulate larger ecological systems. Dial in. To adjust or fine-tune parameters for precision in an experiment or process. Synonym for. Dial in. Adjust precisely, calibrate, fine-tune, optimize, fine-adjust, tweak. It's crucial to dial in the correct temperature for the reaction. It took some time to dial in the right settings for the microscope to capture clear images of the cells. The researchers needed to dial in the precise temperature and humidity levels for the experiment to yield accurate results. Fine-tune. To make small adjustments or refinements to improve accuracy or efficiency. Synonym for. Fine-tune. Adjust, refine, perfect, improve, modify, polish. After receiving feedback, the designer fine-tuned the layout of the website to enhance user experience. The researchers fine-tuned the experimental conditions for optimal results. The engineers fine-tuned the algorithm to improve the efficiency of the machine learning model. Hone in on. To concentrate or focus on a specific target or aspect of research. Synonym for. Hone in on. Focus on, zero in on, concentrate on, target, pinpoint, center on. The study hones in on the relationship between genetics and behavior. The scientists needed to hone in on the specific gene responsible for the observed trait. As the investigation progressed, detectives began to hone in on a particular suspect. Carry out. To execute or perform a scientific procedure or experiment. Synonym for. Carry out. Execute, perform, conduct, implement, undertake, accomplish. The research team successfully carried out the field study despite challenging weather conditions. The lab technicians carried out a series of tests to analyze the chemical composition of the samples. The team is planning to carry out a series of tests next week. Filter out. To remove unwanted elements or data from a set of results. Synonym for. Filter out. Remove, exclude, eliminate, weed out, screen out, sort out. The software is designed to automatically filter out background noise from audio recordings. Researchers had to filter out irrelevant data points to focus on the key variables affecting the outcome. Researchers filter out background noise in order to analyze relevant signals. You can find playlists for various languages in the video description. To practice the vocabulary, you are encouraged to explore our various apps. Links to these are also included in the description. If you found something new or interesting, feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section and provide your valuable feedback. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more educational content.